Hi everyone, my name is Sky, and today is my Trannsiversary! I guess I should explain what I mean by this word. See, every year I celebrate the day I came out of the closet, and that day was December 7th, 2010. I came out of the closet as trans. So I could go on forever talking about my transition journey, but I'll try to keep it a little more brief because I could probably talk for hours. A lot of bad circumstances and painful memories are associated with that time that I came out. But even those bad situations ended up being for the good because they brought me to a place of self discovery and a place where I felt like I was ready to come out. Because, to be honest, I knew since 1985 that I was not a girl, but because of the decade I was living in and the environment I was living in, I wasn't exposed to anything about trans people at all until way after when I was like an adult. So, by the way, I was 8 years old and it was the year 1985. So, yes, to some I might be old and to some I might not be. Anyway, let's get back to my coming out. When I came out to friends and acquaintances, it didn't go that well. Although some people did like the name I chose. They said they liked the name Sky. And that was about it. There were a lot of people that were puzzled and confused and could not believe this gorgeous human being was not a girl. Yeah. I was identifying as a trans man, and people had a lot of issues with that because they thought I wasn't man enough. It was challenging, but I had to seek support somewhere with people who wouldn't give me crap for not being man enough. So I found a trans men group, and for a while the group was good. It gave me a chance to meet people who were also transitioning, and I met some good friends, and I had a social life with these folks. But it ended tragically, and I ended up never going back to the group as a result of the tragedy that befell me. In 2011, I had some issues with housing. I got kicked out of where I was living, and I moved in with a friend who happens to be a trans man. So he didn't have any transphobia. But our relationship started to go sour after I moved in with him. And so one day he said, "You have 15 days to get out of here." So I had to make some challenging choices and ended up in a living situation that was really crappy, but fortunately really brief. And I don't even want to talk about that right now. But I will say that also in 2011, I made my first boyfriend, at least the first boyfriend I had since coming out of the closet. He had a lot of good qualities, and our relationship was sometimes really fun and really awesome. But there were a lot of issues with him going on, issues in his head, and there were issues going on in my head. And that year I was going through a lot of hormonal turmoil, and it was just a really bad time for us to be lovers. Even though we had a really strong connection, and even though he identified as a cis gay man, he still accepted me and wanted me. At the time, I was still identifying as a trans man. And that has put people off who are cis men. That's put them off in the past because it's like, oh, you don't have the equipment that I want. But anyway, not this guy. He accepted me how I was. And he gave me a lot of confidence. He made me feel loved sometimes. He made me feel powerful and strong and able to withstand pretty much anything. He thought I could do anything. He thought I was beautiful and sweet. And he loved me and I loved him. But the issues that arose in our very brief relationship, well, there was just no negotiating in that situation. There was nothing that could be done to make it right. So, I broke up with him. And after that breakup, I entered a very dark time in my life. And that dark time lasted till, well after 2012 had started. I mean, the entire year of 2012 was a lot of mourning the loss of my relationship, and a lot of it was just a blur, and I was just not a happy person, and living in this crappy hotel for skanks, tranks, lobos, zipheads, and prostitutes, and crack whores. So, let's flash forward to 2013, shall we? I had a really good therapist at this time. He just did wonderful things to make me feel more empowered. He believed in me. He saw me as I was. He didn't have issues with my gender. Oh my god, yes. And he really encouraged me to look inside myself, to get to know myself, to learn about myself, and to love myself. And I am so grateful that he was my therapist for well over a year, if not 2 years. I don't know how I would have been if it weren't for him being in my life, because I was a pretty lonely person. Pretty lonely and pretty friendless during 2012 and a lot of 2013. But eventually things started to get a little better. I had a hysterectomy in August of 2013. I don't like I don't like talking about that surgery and that experience. But it did lead to me reuniting with my parents and moving in with my mom temporarily while I recovered from that very intense, very painful surgery. Anyway, 2014 was a year of making big decisions. A month before the new year, a friend passed away, and it really had an effect on the way I was living my life. I started living as though there was no tomorrow because my friend, he died. He thought he was going to have a tomorrow, and he did not. So that got me living like there was no tomorrow, and I made a lot of intense decisions, and I got top surgery in February of this year, and that was a really rough experience, but I had a friend with me who really helped me get through that time. He used to go to the health clinic that I go to, and that's how we met. And we exchanged numbers, and he was this really cool guy, and I was so glad that we had, got in touch with each other after several months of not talking. We got in touch with each other again at a really crucial time in my life because there he was, willing and able to take care of me while I was in the hospital, at least for the first day after I woke up from surgery. The day I woke up, he took such good care of me. He practically spoon fed me and helped me to walk around the hospital because they always want you to start walking as soon as possible. And he was just so loving and sweet. And when my parents came to visit, he bought them lunch and he bought them dinner. Oh my god. This guy was just incredible. And I'm so thankful to him for being so helpful in this recovery process, which doesn't quite bring us up to now, because in the spring of this year, I was going to another trans group that I left again because I felt like I wasn't benefiting from it. And I felt like I'm not support group material, I guess. So I kind of don't want to be in support groups anymore, but we'll see. Which brings us up to, I guess, November. November, something very exciting happened. I met two wonderful men, one of which is now my boyfriend, the other which is now my friend. The boyfriend, he means so much to me, and I have so much adoration for him. He makes me feel special. He makes me feel like royalty. He makes me feel loved and cared for and cared about. And being around him gives me joy. I'm so glad that he's in my life. We were friends for about 2 years before this relationship blossomed in late November of this year. And I always had thoughts about how lovely and wonderful a person he was, but at the time he was dating a friend of mine, so it was like off limits. But now that he's no longer dating that friend of mine, and that friend of mine is no longer talking to me, I felt like now I could have a relationship with him. So we went out on a date one day. It wasn't even meant to be romantic, but our conversation morphed into romance, and I asked him if he wanted to be my boyfriend, and he said yes. So I feel very fortunate that I have this wonderful man with me in my life. He's beautiful, he's intelligent, he's everything to me. I've never known love like this before. And he really accepts me for how I am. He isn't put off by my makeup and my wigs and my skirts and my dress. No, I mean, he's totally fine with all of that. He is a cis gay man, but yeah, some people don't care if their trans lover is as far as gender is concerned. So I guess that's enough talking about my boyfriend. I don't really want to get into a situation about my friend that I met also in November. Yeah, I don't want to get into that right now. I think I should just end this video by saying that I'm so proud of myself for all the things that I've done for my transition journey, which of course is not done because I want to have bottom surgery next year or 2016. And in February, I'm having a hearing to get my name legally changed. So I have made great strides in my transition journey, and I'm just in awe of my ability to go through all the hardships and the pain and the suffering of my journey. And I was able to come out the other side and really live for me and really pursue my dreams. It's just amazing. And I'm just really in a very happy and thankful mood today. And I hope that this Trannsiversary will be a lovely day. I'll be spending it with my new boyfriend. And I'm just excited for the future. I hope that by next year I would have even more awesomeness in my life and even more self-discovery and even more growth. And I'm just so glad for everything that I've been through, the good and the bad, because they've turned me into the person that I am now. And I like that person.